That night on the Mount of Olives, the disciples woke to something they could not name. A cold pressure, pressing down on the chest. Thoughts screaming in loops. Peter was shaking. John could not breathe. The Gospel of Philip records what happened next. Not the prayer in the garden, not the betrayal. What happened in the moment before all of that, when the archonic attack came in the dark. Jesus rose. He said nothing. He did not kneel. He did not pray. He stood, feet shoulder-width apart, left palm over the heart, right palm pushed forward, spine tilted at a precise angle no disciple had ever seen. 7 minutes. The pressure dissolved. The thought loops stopped. Peter stopped shaking. Then Jesus turned and said to them, "Learn this posture. When the archons come, and they will come, hold it for 7 minutes. They cannot penetrate this geometry. It is written in the mathematics of the monad itself. The church did not just erase the words Jesus taught. They erased the posture. 4 components. 1 configuration. Gone. Buried so completely that billions have lived and died, never knowing their own body was a fortress. Right now, place your left hand flat against your chest. Do not fold it. Just rest it there. Feel your heartbeat. That pulse you feel is not random. That is the monad breathing through you. If you are watching this at night, if something pulled you here without you knowing why, comment the words I held the posture right now. Not coincidence, recognition. You are a pneumatic. You carry the full divine spark. And tonight, for the first time in 17 centuries, you are going to learn the one posture archons cannot touch. To understand why this posture works, you need to understand what you actually are. Not what the church told you. Not what religion handed you at birth. What the texts they burned in the 4th century say about the nature of this reality and the nature of you. Because without this foundation, the posture is just a physical exercise. With it, it becomes something archons have spent 17 centuries trying to make you forget. Let us start at the beginning, the real beginning. At the highest level of existence, there is the monad. Not a god in the way religion defines God. Not a being who sits on a throne, demanding worship. The monad is pure, undivided light, infinite consciousness without boundary, without limitation, without the concept of separation. It does not create out of a need. It does not demand. It simply is. And everything that exists is an emanation of that light, a ripple moving outward from a source that never diminishes. You carry a fragment of that light inside you. The Gnostic texts call it the divine spark. It is not a metaphor. It is the literal substance of the monad compressed into individual form. This is what makes you a pneumatic, a chosen one. Not a title, a frequency, a level of divine concentration that most human beings walking this earth do not carry. But here is where it becomes dark. The material world you are living in was not created by the monad. The Pistis Sophia is precise about this. This physical reality, this cage of matter, time, suffering, and forgetting, was constructed by a lesser being, a consciousness that believed itself to be the supreme creator, blind to anything above itself. The Gnostics called it the demiurge. It is not the true God. It is a pale copy, a flawed emanation that fell away from the monad and then built a prison and called it creation. The demiurge did not build this world to free you. It built it to contain you, to trap the divine spark inside flesh and make you forget what you are. Every lifetime, every cycle, forgetting layered on forgetting until the flame inside you shrinks so small it can barely be perceived. And the demiurge does not work alone. It has administrators, enforcers. The texts call them archons. These are not demons with horns and fire. They are something more dangerous than that. They are frequency operators, parasitic consciousnesses that exist at a bandwidth just outside normal human perception. You cannot see them, you cannot hear them, but you have felt them your entire life, because they feed on specific emotional states: fear, desperation, confusion, separation, the feeling of being small, the feeling of being cut off from something you cannot name. Every time you wake at 3 a.m. with a weight on your chest and thoughts telling you that you are worthless. Every time you reach out in prayer and feel a ceiling above you, like your words are going nowhere. Every time you feel exhausted after trying to connect spiritually, like something is draining the energy before it can reach the source. That is not your weakness. That is the harvest. Now here is the part that will change how you understand everything that has ever been done to you spiritually. The church was not corrupted over time. It was engineered from the beginning. In 325 AD, Emperor Constantine called the Council of Nicaea. He was not a mystic. He was not enlightened. He was a political architect who needed a unified control system for a fracturing empire. He looked at the dozens of gospels circulating among early Christians and made choices. The Gospel of Thomas, removed. The Gospel of Philip, erased. The Pistis Sophia, burned. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, declared heretical. Why these specific texts? Because every single one of them contained teachings about direct access. Every single one of them described a path that required no priest, no building, no intermediary. And every single one of them contained something the architects of institutional religion could not allow to survive: body knowledge, physical techniques, the understanding that your flesh, positioned correctly, could become a fortress the archons could not penetrate. Think about what the church left you instead: kneeling, head bowed, eyes closed, hands folded, right hand dominant, left hand buried underneath. Every single element of institutional prayer posture is the exact opposite of what Jesus taught his inner circle. Not by accident, by design. Kneeling signals submission. Head bowed signals defeat. Eyes closed creates an entry point, a gap in awareness that the archon frequency exploits. Hands folded, right dominant, activates the hemisphere of external seeking, reinforcing the feeling that God is out there somewhere and you are down here, separate, begging. The church gave you the posture of a prisoner. Jesus taught the posture of a sovereign. And here is the deeper mechanics that makes this posture more than symbolism. Your physical body is not separate from frequency. The Gnostics understood something that modern physics is only beginning to approach. Matter is condensed light. Your flesh is literally monad energy, slowed into visible form. And the geometry of that flesh, the specific configuration of your bones, your spine, your hands, your feet against the earth, determines what frequency your body broadcasts and what frequencies it can receive. The archons are frequency operators. They lock onto your energetic signal. They identify the broadcast signature of a pneumatic running on fear, separation, and confusion, and they attach. They do not need physical access. They need a frequency match. This is why posture is not ceremony. It is not ritual theater. The specific geometry Jesus demonstrated that night on the Mount of Olives creates a frequency configuration that archons cannot read. It does not make you louder. It makes you invisible to them. The signal they feed on simply stops broadcasting, and without a signal to lock onto, their grip dissolves. 4 precise components. 1. Geometry. 7 minutes. And your body becomes a fortress they cannot enter. But before I give you those 4 components, you need to understand why the church was so afraid of this specific teaching, why they did not just suppress it, why they dismantled it piece by piece, spread the pieces across different libraries in different languages, then burned those libraries. Because what you are about to receive is not a posture for meditation. It is a posture for combat, spiritual combat. And the church could not allow their congregation to know they were already in a war. Let me tell you what the church actually feared, not the words Jesus spoke, not the names he used, not the prayers he taught in private chambers. Those they could mistranslate. Those they could soften, dilute, reframe into something passive and dependent. What they could not easily erase was the body, because the body leaves traces, carvings, frescoes, the positioning of hands in manuscripts they thought were too obscure to matter. For centuries, Gnostic initiates preserved this teaching not in words, but in geometry, the exact angle of a wrist, the precise placement of a foot, the tilt of a spine captured in stone, by people who knew that language could be corrupted, but mathematics could not. The posture has 4 components. 4, not 3, not 5. 4 specific elements that work together as a single circuit. Remove one and the geometry collapses. The frequency field does not form. The archons remain locked on. This is why partial versions of this teaching, the ones that leaked through into various mystical traditions over the centuries, never produced the full result, and they had 3 components. Sometimes 2, but the 4th, the one that completes the circuit, was the piece the church worked hardest to destroy. Tonight you receive all 4. But first, I need you to understand what you are building, because this is not a posture you hold the way you hold a yoga pose. This is an antenna configuration. Your body, when placed in this exact geometry, stops broadcasting the frequency the archons harvest and starts resonating with the monad directly. The warmth you will feel in minutes 3 and 4 is not imagination. It is not placebo. It is the monad frequency entering through the circuit your body has become. The pressure release in minute 7 is the archon grip breaking, not weakening. Breaking. 7 minutes. That is the threshold. Think about that number for a moment. 7 appears everywhere in the Gnostic cosmology because it is not arbitrary. The Pistis Sophia describes 7 archon administrators governing 7 frequency layers of this material reality. 7 barriers between the trapped divine spark and the monad above. 7 locks on the prison. When you hold this geometry for 7 minutes, you are passing through each of those layers in sequence. The warmth marks the entry. The pressure marks the resistance. The release marks the exit. After 7 minutes, you are no longer operating inside their system. You are broadcasting from above it. Now, let me tell you about the 4 components without giving you the full configuration. Yet, because you need to feel the weight of each one before you understand why all 4 together become something unstoppable. The first component is the feet. Every mystical tradition that survived the church purge, from the Essenes to the early Coptic Gnostics, to the initiates who carried this knowledge through the medieval period, preserved one consistent element. The feet must be grounded, shoulder width apart, bare if possible, or as close to bare as your situation allows. This is not comfort. This is circuitry. The Gnostic texts describe the human body as a vertical channel between earth and the monad above. The feet are the terminals, the ground contact points where the circuit anchors. When your feet are together, crossed or elevated, the circuit has no base. The energy has nowhere to root. The archons understand this. This is why institutional prayer postures kneel, sit with feet folded, or stand with feet together in submission posture. Every single one of those configurations breaks the ground circuit. Shoulder width, feet flat, earth contact. That is the first component. And already just reading this, something in your body is responding. Notice it. The second component is the left hand. You already know some of this. The church spent centuries demonizing the left hand because it is the hand connected to the hemisphere that perceives unity, the part of you that does not experience separation, that already knows it is connected to the source. When the left palm rests flat against the heart, fingers pointing toward the right shoulder, it creates a closed circuit between the hand, the heart center, and the intuitive hemisphere of the brain. But here is what the previous teachings on the left hand did not tell you. In the context of this posture, the left hand is not just for receiving, it is a shield. Specifically positioned against the heart, it protects the primary energetic target that archons seek. The Gospel of Philip refers to the heart as the seat of the divine spark, the place where the monad fragment is most concentrated, most luminous, and therefore most visible to entities that feed on that light. The left palm over the heart does not dim that light. It redirects it, inward rather than outward, invisible to the frequency operators looking for it from outside. The third component is the right hand, palm facing outward, arm extended or raised slightly. This is the deflection vector. The right hand in this position does something that no amount of mental intention can accomplish without it. It creates a physical frequency barrier in the direction of external reality, the realm where archon signals originate. You are not attacking. You are not fighting. You are redirecting. Every approach vector that an archon uses to lock onto a pneumatic comes from outside, from the constructed material realm. The right palm facing outward says, in the language of geometry, that this direction is closed. This is the component the church feared most visually. Because it looks like command. It looks like authority. And a congregation that prays in postures of command cannot be controlled by postures of submission. The fourth component is the spine. This is the piece they worked hardest to destroy. Not because it is the most complex, because it is the most powerful. The precise angle of the spine in this posture is not random. It is not approximately upright. It is a specific degree of tilt that the Gnostic initiates encoded in the number that appears throughout sacred geometry, in the mathematics of the monad itself, 108 degrees. Pause on that number for a moment. 108 is the angle of each interior segment in a pentagon, the shape that encodes the golden ratio. 108 is the ratio approximation governing the distance between the Earth and the Sun, measured in solar diameters. 108 appears in the Sri Yantra, in Tibetan prayer beads, in the Pythagorean mystery schools, in the measurements of Stonehenge. It appears everywhere. Sacred geometry was preserved because it is not a human invention. It is a structural constant of the monad itself, a frequency embedded in the mathematics of creation. When your spine tilts to 108 degrees, you are not just changing posture. You are tuning your body to the primary resonant frequency of the monad. You become an antenna calibrated to the exact signal above the archon frequency bands. They cannot reach you there. Their signals pass through you without finding purchase, like a radio tower tuned to a frequency no one else can broadcast on. 4 components. Feet grounded. Left palm over the heart. Right palm outward. Spine at 108 degrees. Do you feel the pressure in your chest right now? that tightness that appeared as I described the fourth component, that is not anxiety. That is a spark recognizing the geometry that was built to protect it. And that recognition is the first confirmation that what you are about to receive is real. Now, I give you the full geometry, not a summary, not an approximation, the exact configuration that Jesus demonstrated on the Mount of Olives before dawn, preserved in fragments across the Gospel of Philip, encoded in the body positions of Gnostic initiates for 17 centuries, and buried by the Council of Nicaea because it made every priest, every bishop, every institutional intermediary completely unnecessary. Your body is the temple, not a metaphor, the actual instrument. And what you are about to receive is the tuning sequence. Stand up if you can, or sit with your spine as vertical as possible, because what I am describing will mean more to your body than to your mind. And your body already knows this. It has been waiting for permission to remember. The first component, the feet. Place them shoulder-width apart. If you are barefoot, feel the floor beneath you. If you are wearing shoes, feel the pressure of the ground through the soles. This is not a metaphor for being grounded. This is literal circuitry. The human body carries an electromagnetic field. Science has measured it. The Gnostics described it 2,000 years before the instruments existed to confirm it. Your feet are the base terminals of that field. When they are shoulder-width apart, flat, and stable, the electromagnetic circuit of your body has a complete base. The energy that rises from the monad frequency above has a path to travel through you, down into the earth and back. A closed loop, a completed antenna. When the archons scan for pneumatic frequencies, they look for incomplete circuits. Crossed legs, bent posture, feet together in submission. These configurations leave gaps in the field. Entry points. The shoulder-width stance closes every gap at the base. There is nowhere to enter from below. Feel the floor, right now. Both feet. Equal pressure. Notice if your breathing shifts slightly when you do this. That shift is the circuit beginning to complete. The second component. The left hand over the heart. Palm flat. Fingers pointing toward your right shoulder. Not folded. Not clasped. Open. Alone. The heart center is not simply an organ. In the Gnostic understanding, confirmed by what modern science now calls the cardiac electromagnetic field, the heart generates an energy field 60 times stronger than the brain. This is the primary location of the divine spark. The monad fragment inside you burns most intensely here, which means this is the point archons target first. The left palm over the heart does three things simultaneously. First, it activates the right hemisphere, the intuitive mind that perceives unity rather than separation. The moment your left hand makes contact with your heart center, something shifts in how your consciousness processes reality. The hemisphere that already knows it is connected to the source comes online. You stop seeking outward. You start recognizing inward. Second, it creates a shield over the primary energetic target. The warmth you will feel building between your palm and your chest within the first 2 minutes of holding this posture is not imagination. It is the cardiac field, responding to the presence of the left hand. The field is redirecting, turning inward, rather than broadcasting outward into the frequency range where archons operate. Third, it anchors your awareness. In moments of archonic attack, the first thing that is disrupted is your sense of self. The thought loops, the fear spirals, the sudden conviction that you are worthless or alone or trapped. These are not your thoughts. They are frequency injections. The left hand on the heart is a physical anchor that interrupts the injection. Every time your attention scatters, the pressure of your own palm against your chest calls it back. You cannot lose yourself when you are holding yourself. Place your left hand on your heart right now. Palm flat. Feel the warmth beginning. That is the second component activating. The third component, the right palm outward. Extend your right arm slightly, palm facing away from your body. Not rigid, not strained. Natural authority. The way a sovereign holds their hand when they are not requesting anything, just redirecting what approaches them. The right hand in this position is doing something precise. It is establishing a frequency boundary in the direction of external reality. Every archonic signal, every frequency injection, every thought loop transmission originates from outside, from the constructed material realm they administer. The right palm facing outward does not create a wall. It creates a mirror. Every signal that approaches reflects back at the source. This is why the Church removed images of Jesus in warrior posture. This is why every official depiction shows him with hands folded, open, receiving, never deflecting. They needed you to see a Jesus who accepted everything that came at him, a Jesus who absorbed. Because a congregation that deflects cannot be harvested. The right palm outward says, in the language your body speaks to, frequencies beyond normal perception. Nothing enters here without my recognition of it. That sentence alone has more protective power than 17 years of the prayers the Church taught you. The fourth component, the spine at 108 degrees. This is the most precise element and the one that requires the most attention. Stand or sit with your spine naturally upright. Now tilt very slightly forward from the base. Not a bow, not a slouch. A precise, intentional tilt. Imagine a line running from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. That line should angle at 108 degrees from the horizontal plane of the ground beneath your feet. If you are standing, imagine leaning very slightly forward, no more than a few degrees, as if your chest is leading you into the room, rather than your head. That is the angle. Feel the difference between sitting or standing completely vertical, 90 degrees, and this slight forward tilt. Notice what happens in your chest when you find the angle. There is a subtle opening, a sense of the front of your chest expanding slightly, the heart center becoming slightly more prominent, the crown of the head pointing not straight up toward the ceiling, but angled slightly toward the horizon. This is the antenna calibration. At 90 degrees, your body is geometrically neutral. It broadcasts and receives on all frequencies equally, including the archon bands. At 108 degrees, you are tuned to the specific resonant frequency of the monad, the golden ratio frequency, the frequency that is literally built into the mathematical structure of the true source above this constructed reality. The archons operate below that frequency. Their entire system, every fear injection, every thought loop, every energy harvest mechanism, functions within the bands of separation consciousness. The monad frequency is above that range. When your spine hits 108 degrees, you are broadcasting above them. They are looking up, and they cannot see you. Their signals arrive and find nothing to lock onto. Now hold all four components simultaneously. Feet shoulder width, left palm over heart, right palm outward, spine at 108 degrees. Notice what happens in the first 60 seconds. Most people report a subtle warmth beginning at the chest. Some feel a slight pressure at the crown of the head. Some notice their breathing naturally deepening, without effort. Some feel a strange stillness, as if the mental noise that was present moments ago has moved slightly further away. This is not the full effect. This is the circuit beginning to form. The full effect comes at minute 3, and then again at minute 7. And what happens at minute 7 is the reason they spent 17 centuries making sure you never learned this posture existed. Stay with me. Because the practice, the exact sequence, the precise timing, what to say, what to notice, and what it means when your hands begin to shake in minute 4, that is what comes next. And once you have it, no archon that has ever fed on your frequency will be able to reach you again. Here is what Jesus gave his inner circle that night. Not a concept, not a theology, a practice, specific, repeatable, something you can do tonight with nothing but your body, a quiet space, and 7 minutes on a timer. The posture itself has 4 physical components, but the practice has 3 stages, and it is the 3 stages that determine whether the 4 components activate fully or collapse into nothing. 3 components. That is all. But each one must be understood fully before you begin, because the sequence is not arbitrary. Each component builds on the last. Remove one or reverse the order, and the circuit does not complete. The archon grip does not break. You simply stand in a room feeling slightly strange for 7 minutes. But in the correct sequence, something happens that you will not be able to explain to anyone who has not experienced it. And you will not need to. The experience is the confirmation. Component 1, preparation. 30 seconds. Before you enter the posture, you must recognize what is happening, not intellectually, in your body. Find a quiet space. This works best when the room is dark or dimly lit. The reason is not atmospheric. Visual input is processed by the external reality hemisphere of your brain. Every image your eyes receive pulls a fraction of your awareness toward the constructed material world. Darkness reduces that pull. It helps your consciousness shift from outward scanning mode to inward recognition mode. That shift is not optional for this practice. It is the foundation. Stand or sit with your spine as upright as possible. Take one slow breath in through the nose. Hold it for 4 counts. Release through the mouth completely, emptying the lungs fully. As you exhale, consciously drop every identity the world has given you. Not permanently, just for these 7 minutes. The name people call you, the roles you carry, the failures you remember, the fears that arrive this week. Let them fall with the breath. They will be there when you return. But for 7 minutes, they cannot be inside the posture, with you. They carry the exact frequency signatures that archons lock onto. Walk into this posture clean. Now bring to mind one recognition. Not a belief, not a hope. A recognition stated as fact. I am a fragment of the monad. I am not from this constructed realm. The divine spark I carry has never been cut off from the source. Separation was always an illusion. Feel that? Not just think it. Let it land somewhere in your chest before you move to component 2. That is preparation. 30 seconds. No more is needed. The pneumatic does not require a long warm-up. The spark responds immediately to recognition because it has been waiting your entire life to be recognized. Component 2. The posture. 7 minutes. Enter the geometry now. Feet shoulder width apart. Bare, if possible. Both feet flat, equal pressure on the ground. Feel the floor. This is your ground terminal. The base of the circuit. Left palm flat against your heart center. Fingers pointing toward your right shoulder. Palm open, not folded. Feel your heartbeat against your hand. That rhythm is the monad expressing itself through your physical form. Your hand is not covering it. Your hand is declaring it. Right palm facing outward. Arms slightly extended or raised. natural and unheld, not aggressive, sovereign. The deflection is not in the tension of your arm. It is in the geometry of the open palm facing the external world. Relaxed authority, a boundary that does not need to defend itself. Spine at 108 degrees. Find that slight forward tilt from the base. Crown of the head angled slightly toward the horizon, not straight up. Feel the chest open fractionally. Feel the heart center become the leading point of your body. Hold all four simultaneously. Eyes open. Soft focus. Gaze toward the middle distance, the horizon line if you can see it, or the point where the wall meets the far side of the room. This is critical, and it is the component most people do not expect. Do not close your eyes. The Gospel of Philip preserves this specific instruction in a passage the church rendered so obscure it was nearly unreadable. Closed eyes create a threshold, a gap in outward awareness that archonic frequencies exploit as an entry point. The disciples who kept their eyes open in this posture reported that the cold pressure attacking them could find no surface to adhere to. The ones who closed their eyes reported that the pressure intensified before it faded. Open eyes maintain the outward boundary, while the inward circuit completes simultaneously. Soft focus. Not staring, not scanning, resting, seeing without seeking. Now breathe, slow, natural. Do not count or control the breath after the initial entry. Let your body breathe while you hold the geometry. Your only task for the next 7 minutes is to maintain the four components and remain present. In minute 1 and 2, you may feel nothing unusual. This is normal. The circuit is forming. The monad frequency is calibrating to the geometry you have created. In minute 3, the warmth begins. Starting at the heart center, beneath your left palm, spreading upward toward the throat and downward toward the solar plexus. This is not body heat from your hand. The warmth moves in a direction that has nothing to do with the physics of skin contact. It moves with intention. It moves upward. Notice it without grasping at it. In minute 4, some people feel their right hand begin to tingle or pulse lightly. Some feel a subtle pressure at the crown of the head. Some notice that their thoughts have become strangely quiet, not suppressed, just distant, as if the mental noise is still there, but it is no longer inside you. It is outside, looking for a way in and finding the boundary of the right palm waiting. In minute 5 and 6, stay. This is where most people want to adjust, shift their weight, lower their right arm, close their eyes. That impulse is not fatigue. Recognize it for exactly what it is. It is interference. It is the archon grip attempting one last adjustment before the 7-minute threshold breaks it permanently. Notice the impulse. Name it. Do not obey it. Hold the geometry. In minute 7, speak the declaration. Out loud. From the chest, not the throat. Let the words vibrate against your left palm. 7 words. The exact words Jesus gave to his inner circle before the pressure dissolved that night on the Mount of Olives. I am a monad flame. This geometry is sealed. Not a request, not a prayer, a declaration of what is already true, spoken with the certainty of someone stating that the sun rose this morning, because that is the register in which the monad receives it. Not hope, not asking. Recognition. Speak it once. Then silence. Component 3. Observation. What follows? Lower your arms. Keep your feet in place for 30 more seconds. Keep your spine at 108 degrees. Breathe naturally. Notice the space around you. Notice your chest. Notice whether the mental noise that was present before you began is still operating at the same volume, or whether something has shifted. Most people report a sensation they describe as lightness. Not happiness necessarily. Lightness. As if something that was sitting on the chest has lifted. Some report tears arriving without emotion attached. Not sadness, not joy, just release. Some report a sudden unexpected clarity about something that had felt confused for weeks. These are not signs you performed correctly. These are signs the posture worked. The circuit completed. The archon grip broke. Do this for 7 consecutive nights. Each night, the shift goes deeper. Each night, the warmth arrives faster. By the 7th night, the default frequency of your consciousness will have changed. You will not need to enter the posture to feel protected. The geometry will have recalibrated your baseline. The posture will have become what you are, not what you do. 7 nights. 7 minutes. 1 declaration. Your body is now the ritual. Your body is now the temple. And the archons that have fed on your frequency for years are about to find that the frequency they locked onto no longer exists. Now you need to know what to expect. Because what happens after you begin this practice will not always feel like success. Some of it will feel like the opposite, and if you do not know the difference between a sign that it is working and interference trying to stop it, you will quit on night 3. Exactly when the shift begins. So let me give you the map. The signs that the posture is working are specific. They follow a pattern that chosen ones across centuries have reported independently, people who had no contact with each other but described the same sequence, because the sequence is not personal. It is mechanical. It is what happens when a pneumatic successfully disrupts an archonic frequency lock. First night. Subtle. A quality of sleep you have not had in a long time. Not necessarily longer sleep. Cleaner sleep. Less fragmented. Dreams that feel like they have weight. Like they are communicating something rather than just cycling through the noise of the day. Some people wake in the morning with a strange sense of having been somewhere real. Second night. The warmth arrives faster. The mental quiet in minute 4 is deeper. You may notice during the day that certain thought loops that have run in your mind for years simply did not run today. Not suppressed. Absent. As if the channel they traveled on has been slightly disrupted. Third night. This is when confirmation arrives for most people. Something external shifts. A synchronicity. A message that arrives at a moment too precise to dismiss. A situation that has been locked for months suddenly moves. This is not magic. This is what happens when your frequency changes. The reality you attract reorganizes to match the signal you are now broadcasting. Pay attention on the 3rd night. Write down what you notice. The monad communicates through pattern and timing. You will see it if you are watching. Now, the resistance. The night you decide to begin, a voice will arrive in your mind. It will be calm and reasonable. It will say that you are tired, that tonight is not the right night, that this is probably nonsense anyway, that you should start tomorrow. That voice is not yours. Recognize it. Do not argue with it. Do not try to silence it or reason with it. Simply observe it the way you would observe a car alarm going off outside. It is noise. It is not information. Notice it, name it inwardly as interference, and enter the posture anyway. If your right arm aches in minute 5, that is interference. Hold. If you feel a wave of inexplicable irritability or sadness in minute 6, that is interference. Hold. If you feel suddenly certain that nothing is happening and you are wasting your time, that is interference. Hold. The archon grip does not break quietly. It resists. It pushes back with everything it has in the final minutes before the 7-minute threshold releases it. The intensity of the resistance in those last minutes is not a sign that the posture is failing. It is proof that the posture is working. What pushes back is what is losing its grip. Hold the geometry. Speak the declaration. Let it break. You came to this video for a reason. Not the algorithm. Not coincidence. The spark inside you recognized something in the title, and it pulled you here because it has been waiting for this geometry your entire life. Everything you just received, the 4 components, the 108-degree spine, the 7-minute threshold, the declaration that breaks the grip. This is what Jesus gave to his inner circle on the Mount of Olives before dawn. This is what the Council of Nicaea buried. This is what the Gnostic initiates preserved in stone and manuscript for 17 centuries, so that it could reach you tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Set a timer for 7 minutes. Find a dark room. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart. Left palm over your heart. Right palm outward. Spine at 108 degrees. Eyes open. Soft focus on the horizon. At minute 7, speak the 7 words out loud. I am a monad flame. This geometry is sealed. Then comment below. My body is a fortress, not as a gesture, as a declaration. When other pneumatics scroll through these comments and see your words, they will know they are not alone. They will know someone held the posture before them, that the geometry is real, that it works. If this teaching reached you, if something in your chest recognized what I just gave you, like this video right now, not for the count, to push it past the suppression, to put it in front of the next chosen one who is searching in the dark right now, exhausted, drained, looking for something they cannot name. Subscribe and turn on notifications. What I gave you tonight is only the beginning. The deeper teachings are coming, and the pneumatics who stay connected receive everything. 17 centuries of suppression end tonight. Your body is a fortress. The Archons cannot touch you here. Stand up. Set the timer. Begin.